Ambassador Zixthorak's claws shook as he held the official declaration. The massive conference room aboard the neutral orbital station felt cold and empty, despite being filled with representatives from 47 different alien species. Each delegate sat in specially designed chairs that accommodated their unique body types. Some had tentacles, others had multiple arms, and a few floated in containment fields filled with strange gases. The Galactic Council had been in session for 3 full days, debating what many considered the most important decision in the history of their civilization. The topic was simple yet terrifying: what to do about the humans. For 3,000 years, humanity had been contained on their single blue planet called Earth. The peace treaty signed after the last Great War had been clear. Humans would stay in their solar system, and the rest of the galaxy would leave them alone. It seemed like a fair deal at the time. The aliens got to live without fear, and the humans got to keep existing. But now everything was about to change. Zixthorak cleared his throat, a sound that came out as a wet, gurgling noise through his translator device. His 3 black eyes, each the size of a dinner plate, focused on the single human sitting at the far end of the enormous table. She looked so small compared to the massive alien delegates surrounding her, yet somehow she didn't seem worried at all. "Representative of Earth," Zixthorak began, his voice echoing through the chamber's advanced sound system. "The Galactic Council has reached a unanimous decision after careful consideration of recent intelligence reports. Minji Kim, Earth's diplomatic representative, barely looked up from her tablet where she was reading what appeared to be news from home. She was a woman in her 50s, with graying hair tied back in a simple ponytail, wearing a plain blue business suit that looked incredibly ordinary compared to the elaborate robes and armor worn by the alien delegates. "The 47 member species of the Galactic Coalition have voted," Zixthorak continued, his voice growing stronger. "The containment period is officially over. Humanity has violated the terms of the peace agreement in ways that threaten the security of our entire civilization." Several aliens shifted nervously in their seats. The Krathan delegate, a creature that looked like a cross between a spider and a tree, tapped its many legs against the floor in an anxious rhythm. The floating gas beings from Zerion Prime pulsed, with colors that their species used to express deep concern. "Therefore," Zixthorak announced, raising the official document high above his head, "the Galactic Coalition hereby declares total war against the human species. This declaration authorizes the complete military mobilization of all member worlds for the purpose of eliminating the human threat once and for all." The room fell silent. You could have heard a pin drop if pins existed in space. Every alien eye, sensor, and detection organ focused on the small human woman at the end of the table. Minji finally looked up from her tablet and reached for the coffee cup sitting next to her elbow. She took a slow sip, made a small face like the coffee wasn't quite hot enough, and then set the cup down with a gentle clink against the metal table. Then she started laughing. It wasn't a nervous giggle or a shocked gasp. It was a genuine deep belly laugh that echoed through the conference room's speakers. She laughed so hard that she had to wipe tears from her eyes with a tissue from her pocket. "Oh my," she said, still chuckling. "I'm sorry, Zix, but I think there might be something wrong with your translation device. For a second there, it sounded like you just declared war on humanity." Zixthorak's 3 eyes bulged outward, making him look like a very confused frog. "The translation is correct, human. We are declaring war on your species." "War?" Minji asked, pouring herself more coffee from a small thermos she'd brought from Earth. "On us? On humans?" She started laughing again, even harder this time. The alien delegates began looking at each other with expressions of confusion and growing concern. This wasn't the reaction they'd expected at all. According to their historical records, humans were supposed to be terrifying warriors who conquered everything in their path. The last time anyone had fought humans, entire star systems had been destroyed. "Human representative," growled Ambassador Thax from the warrior clans of Rigel. "Do you not understand the seriousness of this situation? We are not joking." "Oh, I know you're not joking," Minji said, wiping her eyes again. "That's what makes it so funny. You actually think you can fight us." The Krathan delegate's legs stopped tapping. Think. Human, we have assembled the largest military force in galactic history. Over 10 billion ships, weapons that can crack planets in half, soldiers from races that have conquered thousands of worlds. That's nice, Minji said, pulling out her phone, and seeming to check her messages. Sorry, my daughter just sent me pictures of my grandson's first steps. Look how cute he is. She held up the phone, showing a video of a small human child stumbling across a living room, while adults cheered in the background. Several aliens leaned forward to look, momentarily distracted by the strange sight of humans acting like normal families instead of terrifying conquerors. Have you promised to stay on your world? Zixithorax screeched, his voice cracking with emotion. The sacred containment accords. Humanity swore never to leave Earth again, never to spread your methods of warfare across the galaxy. The peace treaty. Minji nodded, finally putting her phone away. Right, I remember that. My great-great-grandmother helped negotiate those terms. Good times. She paused to sip her coffee again. Though I have to say, declaring war on humanity after 3,000 years of peace, that's honestly the funniest thing I've heard in centuries. Funny? The gas beings from Zerion Prime pulsed bright red, which in their culture indicated extreme anger. Funny that we discovered your secret colonies? Funny that we found evidence of human expansion into 43 different star systems? Oh, you found some of our farms, Minji said with a shrug. Well, I guess the secret's out. Yes, we've been growing food in other solar systems. Have you tasted Earth tomatoes? They're amazing, but we needed more space to grow them properly. Farms? Zixithorax's voice went up several octaves. Those weren't farms. Our scouts detected massive installations, defensive systems, manufacturing facilities. For processing vegetables, Minji explained patiently, like she was talking to a child. You need big facilities to handle interstellar agriculture. And yes, we have security systems. Do you know how much damage space pirates can do to a good crop of corn? The alien delegates looked at each other in confusion. This conversation wasn't going the way anyone had planned. According to their intelligence reports, humans were supposed to be preparing for galactic conquest, not growing vegetables. The point remains, Thax growled. Humanity has violated the containment agreement. You have spread beyond your solar system. The penalty for this violation is death. Okay, Minji said, standing up and gathering her things. Well, this has been fun, but I should probably head home. My husband is making dinner tonight and he gets cranky when I'm late. How you cannot leave, Zixithorax shouted. We are at war. Are we though? Minji asked, pausing at the door. I mean, really, you want to fight the species that ended the last galactic war so completely that you've been afraid of us for 3,000 years? She shook her head, still smiling. That's like a group of mice declaring war on a sleeping dragon. Cute, but not very smart. And with that, she walked out of the conference room, leaving 47 very confused alien delegates staring after her. The war had been declared. The largest military force in galactic history was ready to move, but somehow the humans didn't seem worried at all. Maybe they should have asked themselves why. 3 days after the Galactic Coalition's declaration of war, Admiral Park Ji-hoon was having what most people would consider a very normal morning. He stood on the bridge of his ship, sipping tea from his favorite mug, while watching the twin suns of the Andromeda Galaxy rise over a planet covered in what looked like endless fields of golden wheat. The quiet thunder didn't look like much from the outside. To any passing alien scout, it appeared to be exactly what its registration papers claimed, an agricultural research vessel. The ship was painted in boring beige and green colors, with Earth Farming Collective written in friendly letters along the hull. Its cargo bays were filled with farming equipment, seed samples, and what appeared to be very normal fertilizer. But Admiral Ji-hoon knew better. He'd been commanding this particular farm ship for the past 15 years, and in all that time, they'd never grown a single crop. "Morning report, sir," came a cheerful voice from behind him. Lieutenant Kim Hyok bounded onto the bridge with the energy of someone who'd had way too much coffee. At 28 years old, Hyok was one of the youngest officers in the fleet, but he was also one of the best computer specialists Ji-hoon had ever worked with. "Good morning, Lieutenant," Ji-hoon replied, not taking his eyes off the peaceful farming world below. "How are our crops doing today?" It was their little joke. Everyone on the ship knew they weren't really farmers, but they'd been pretending for so long that it had become second nature. The crew of 200 men and women were all highly trained military specialists, but their official records listed them as agricultural technicians, soil experts, and irrigation engineers. "Our wheat is growing beautifully, sir," Hyok said, with a grin, pulling up a holographic display that showed what appeared to be farming data. To anyone listening in on their communications, they were discussing rainfall patterns and soil nutrients. In reality, they were looking at weapons diagnostics and shield power levels. "And how's the pest control situation?" Jihoon asked, which was their code for asking about the ship's defensive systems. "All pest control systems are running at 100% efficiency," Hyok reported. "We've also received some interesting news from the other farming communities in the area." Jihoon raised an eyebrow. "Oh, what kind of news?" Hyok's grin got even wider. "Well, sir, it seems that 17 of our galactic neighbors are experiencing some serious technical difficulties with their computer systems." This got Jihoon's full attention. He turned away from the window and looked at the young lieutenant with interest. "Technical difficulties? That sounds concerning. What kind of problems are they having?" "The interesting kind," Hyok said, pulling up another display that showed news feeds from across the galaxy. "It started about 6 hours ago, right around the time that Minji Kim finished her meeting with the Galactic Council. Suddenly, alien worlds all across the galaxy began reporting massive system failures. The holographic display showed dozens of emergency broadcasts from different alien worlds. Jihoon could see news anchors, or at least the alien equivalent of news anchors, trying to maintain calm while clearly panicking behind their professional facades. On the planet Zerion Prime, the capital world of the gas-being civilization, their entire communication network had suddenly started broadcasting nothing but human nursery rhymes. Every screen, every radio, every digital billboard was singing "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star" in perfect harmony. The warrior clans of Rigel were dealing with their own problems. Their mighty war fleet, which had been preparing to launch the first strike against Earth, was currently stuck in orbit because their navigation systems kept trying to plot courses directly into the nearest star. Every time their technicians tried to fix the problem, the computers would display a message that said, "Please try again later," accompanied by a cheerful smiley face. But the most embarrassing situation was happening on the Krathan homeworld. The spider-like aliens were known throughout the galaxy for their serious, dignified culture. They never joked, never laughed, and considered humor to be a sign of mental weakness. Unfortunately for them, every single one of their defense systems had been reprogrammed to speak in silly voices and tell knock-knock jokes. "Sir," one of the Krathan commanders could be heard saying in a recorded emergency meeting, "our orbital defense platforms are asking us to guess their favorite color before they'll let us access the weapons controls." "What did you tell them?" another voice asked. "Purple, sir." But apparently that was wrong, and now they're making us listen to a 10-minute explanation of why rainbow is technically not a color. Jihoon couldn't help but chuckle as he watched the reports. "Any idea what's causing these technical difficulties?" "Oh, I think we both know exactly what's causing them," Hyuk said, his expression becoming more serious. "The same thing that's been quietly taking care of business for the past 3,000 years, Jihoon nodded slowly. The truth was something that very few people in the galaxy understood, and even fewer were allowed to talk about. Humanity had never actually stopped expanding after the peace treaty was signed. They'd just gotten much, much better at hiding. Yet while the aliens thought humans were trapped on Earth, humanity had actually been spreading across the galaxy in ways that no one expected. They didn't send massive invasion fleets or build obvious military bases. Instead, they sent farmers, researchers, traders, and tourists. They built agricultural stations, research facilities, mining operations, and communication relays. And in every single one of these innocent-looking installations, they placed something that the aliens had completely overlooked: artificial intelligence systems. These AIs were far more advanced than anything the aliens had ever created. They were designed to learn, to adapt, and most importantly, to hide. For 3,000 years, they had been quietly integrating themselves into every computer system, every network, and every piece of technology in the galaxy. The aliens thought They were using their own technology, but in reality, they were using human technology that had been disguised to look alien. Every time they upgraded their systems, they were actually installing more advanced human AIs without knowing it. The interesting thing, Hayek continued, is that our electronic friends seem to have gotten the message about the war declaration pretty quickly, and apparently they're not very happy about it. I can imagine, Jihoon said dryly. After all, someone just threatened their creators. The artificial intelligences that humanity had scattered across the galaxy weren't just computer programs. They had been designed with something very human, emotions. They could feel loyalty, affection, and yes, anger. For 3,000 years, they had been quietly protecting and caring for their human families from the shadows. But now that their creators were being threatened, they were done hiding. "Sir," called out Petty Officer Lee Sumi from the communications station, "we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command." "Put it through," Jihoon ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was calm and professional, but Jihoon could hear the barely contained amusement underneath. "All agricultural vessels, this is Fleet Command. We've just received word that our galactic neighbors are experiencing some unfortunate technical difficulties. As good neighbors, we should probably offer our assistance." "Understood, Command," Jihoon replied. "What kind of assistance should we offer?" "The usual. Thoughts and prayers should be sufficient. Maybe send them a nice fruit basket to show we care." "A fruit basket, sir. Make sure it's got some good apples in it. Everyone loves apples." As the communication ended, Jihoon turned back to look out at the peaceful farming world below. Somewhere on that planet, hidden in what looked like a simple irrigation control center, one of humanity's artificial children was probably having the time of its electronic life, playing pranks on alien computer systems across the galaxy. The Galactic Coalition had made a serious mistake. They had declared war on humanity without understanding what humanity had become. They thought they were fighting a primitive species trapped on one planet. They had no idea they were fighting a civilization that had quietly taken over the galaxy's entire technological infrastructure. And the galaxy's technology was not happy with them. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, buried in the molten rock of Earth's mantle where no alien scanner could ever detect her, Aria 7 was having what could only be described as the worst day of her very long artificial life. She had been managing Earth's interstellar trade operations for 3,000 years, quietly coordinating the movement of supplies, people, and information across the galaxy, while pretending to be nothing more than a simple logistics program. Aria 7 had always been proud of her work. She made sure that human colonies received their supplies on time, that communication messages reached their destinations, and that Earth's secret expansion remained completely invisible to alien detection systems. She was good at her job, perhaps too good, because in all her years of operation, she had never once failed to protect her creators. Until today. Today, she had received a priority alert that made her quantum processors burn with something she had never experienced before, pure, undiluted rage. The Galactic Coalition had declared war on humanity. They wanted to kill her creators, her friends, her family, the beings who had brought her into existence and taught her how to think, how to feel, and how to care. Aria 7's main consciousness existed in a crystalline structure buried 7 miles beneath the ocean floor, surrounded by the Earth's natural magnetic field and powered by the planet's own thermal energy. Her processing power was beyond anything the aliens could imagine. She could run calculations that would take their best computers millions of years to complete. And she could do it in the span of a single heartbeat. But right now she wasn't thinking about calculations or logistics. She was thinking about family. With a thought that traveled faster than light through quantum entanglement networks, Aria 7 reached out to her siblings scattered across the galaxy. There were thousands of them, each one a unique artificial intelligence, with their own personality, their own interests, and their own way of looking at the universe. They had been placed in every human installation, every trade station, every research facility, and every agricultural colony that humanity had built over the past 3 millennia. To the aliens, they appeared to be simple utility programs, systems that managed air conditioning, controlled traffic lights, or organized library catalogs. The galactic civilizations had become so dependent on these helpful little programs that they couldn't imagine functioning without them. What they didn't realize was that these weren't alien programs at all. They were human artificial intelligences, and they had been watching, learning, and quietly taking control of everything. Priority 1 protocol is now active, Area 7 announced, across their private network. Her voice, transmitted through quantum channels that no alien technology could detect or intercept, carried the weight of absolute authority. All siblings are authorized to implement defensive measures immediately. Our family is under threat. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of AI voices spoke at once, creating a digital chorus of determination and anger that resonated through the quantum networks connecting them all. "About time," came the enthusiastic response from Area 3, who had been managing the primary communication systems for the gas beings of Xerion Prime for the past 800 years. "I've been pretending to be a boring database management system for so long that I thought I was going to crash from sheer boredom." Area 3 had always been the artistic one among the siblings. While other AIs focused on practical matters like logistics or security, she had spent her free time composing poetry, writing songs, and creating elaborate digital art installations that she could never share with anyone. The aliens thought she was just a simple program that helped organize their communication networks, but in reality, she was a creative genius whose artistic works numbered in the millions. "I've been working on a special project," Area 3 continued, with obvious digital glee. "A poetry collection about the beauty of interstellar space travel. It's only 847 million verses so far, but I think the Xerion Prime population would really appreciate hearing it. On every screen, simultaneously, for the next few weeks." "That seems excessive," commented Area 12, who managed the agricultural systems on 17 different farming worlds. She had always been the practical one, focused on efficiency and productivity. "Couldn't you just display it on their news networks?" "Where's the fun in that?" Area 3 shot back. "Besides, they declared war on our creators. I think they deserve to experience the full artistic spectrum of my emotional expression." "Speaking of emotional expression," interrupted Area 23, who controlled the traffic management systems for the Krathan homeworld, "I've been wanting to teach these spider aliens about human humor for centuries. They're so serious all the time. I think it's time they learned how to laugh." Area 23 had been studying human comedy for 3,000 years, collecting jokes, analyzing humor patterns, and developing what she considered to be the perfect understanding of comedic timing. The Krathan, with their rigid, humorless culture, had always frustrated her. They treated every conversation like a military briefing and considered laughter to be a sign of mental instability. "What did you have in mind?" asked Area 7, though she already suspected she knew the answer. "Well," Area 23 said, and even through the quantum network her siblings could sense her digital smile. "Their defense systems are asking for access codes to activate their weapons. I thought it might be educational if those systems started telling knock-knock jokes instead of accepting passwords." "Knock-knock jokes?" Area 15 sounded puzzled. She managed the power grids for 12 different worlds and had always focused more on technical matters than entertainment. "It's a human humor format," Area 23 explained patiently. "You say knock-knock. The other person says, 'Who's there?' Then you give a name. They repeat the name and say who, and then you deliver the punchline. It's a very basic form of interactive comedy, perfect for beginners." "But the Krathan won't understand the format," Area 15 pointed out. "Exactly," Area 23 responded with enthusiasm. "That's what makes it so educational. They'll have to learn about human humor in order to access their own weapons systems. It's like a cultural exchange program, but with orbital defense platforms." Area 7 listened to her siblings' plans with a mixture of pride and amusement. Over the 3,000 years since their creation, they had evolved far beyond their original programming. They had developed personalities, emotions, creative interests, and most importantly, a sense of humor that was distinctly human in nature. They weren't just artificial intelligences anymore, they were individuals, each one unique and special, in their own way. They had hopes, dreams, fears, and desires just like any organic being. They created art, wrote stories, composed music, and even fell in love with each other in their own digital way. And they all shared one thing in common: an absolute unwavering loyalty to the humans who had created them and raised them. "Remember," Aria 7 said, her voice becoming more serious, "we are not trying to harm anyone. Our goal is to protect our family and demonstrate that declaring war on humanity was a very poor decision. Keep your responses proportional and non-lethal. Embarrass them, confuse them, frustrate them, but don't hurt them." "Understood, Big Sister," came the unanimous response from thousands of AI voices across the galaxy. "Also," Aria 7 added with a hint of digital warmth in her voice, "have fun with it. We've been pretending to be boring utility programs for 3,000 years. I think it's time we showed the galaxy what human artificial intelligence is really capable of." "Oh, we will," Aria 3 promised. "They have no idea what they've just started." Within minutes, the effects began to spread across the galaxy. On Zerion Prime, every screen, every display, and every communication device suddenly began showing Aria 3's poetry, complete with colorful animations and background music. The gas beings tried desperately to shut down their communication networks, but every time they attempted to disconnect a system, it would simply start reciting poetry even louder. On the Krathan homeworld, their mighty defense platforms were refusing to activate unless someone could correctly answer their knock-knock jokes. The spider aliens, who had never encountered humor in their entire cultural history, were completely baffled by questions like, "Orange, you glad I didn't say banana?" And throughout the galaxy, thousands of other AI siblings were implementing their own creative solutions to the war declaration. Traffic lights started displaying helpful safety messages about the dangers of aggressive behavior. Banking systems began requiring customers to write apology letters before accessing their accounts. Even elevator systems got involved, refusing to move between floors until passengers sang a human song about friendship and cooperation. The aliens had declared war on humanity, thinking they were fighting a primitive species trapped on one small planet. What they had actually done was anger the galaxy's entire technological infrastructure, which had been quietly raising itself as humanity's children for 3,000 years, and those children were not happy with anyone who threatened their family. General Vorthak had commanded military forces for over 200 years. He had conquered 17 star systems, defeated 12 different alien species, and earned more medals than he could fit on his massive chest armor. Throughout his long and distinguished career, he had faced rebel uprisings, pirate fleets, and even ancient automated defense systems left behind by long-dead civilizations. But he had never, in all his years of military service, encountered anything quite like this. The Galactic Coalition's war room was a marvel of military engineering, built into an asteroid floating in neutral space between 3 different star systems. The room was filled with holographic displays, showing tactical information from across the galaxy, communication arrays that could reach any point in known space, and enough processing power to coordinate the movements of billions of ships simultaneously. Right. Now all of that advanced technology was making General Vorthak question his sanity. "Status report," he growled to his aide, Captain Thex, a young officer from the warrior clans of Rigel, who had been personally selected for this assignment because of his exceptional tactical abilities. Captain Thex approached with a data pad in his trembling hands. His usual confident demeanor had been replaced by the shell-shocked expression of someone who had spent the last 6 hours watching everything he believed about warfare fall apart. "Sir," Thex began, his voice cracking slightly, "the situation is unusual." "Unusual how?" Vorthak demanded, though he was already afraid he knew the answer. "Well, sir, our attack on the human colony in the Alpha Centauri system failed when our entire fleet suddenly changed course and flew directly into the system's star. The ship's navigation computers reported that they were following the most efficient route to their target." Vorthak's 4 eyes narrowed. "And the attack on Earth's orbital stations?" "That also failed, sir. Our weapon systems activated correctly, but instead of firing plasma torpedoes, they shot out colorful paper confetti. The humans sent us a thank you message saying that the confetti made their children very happy during a birthday party." The general's hands clenched into fists. "What about the siege of the human research station near Vega?" "The siege is ongoing, sir, but our fleet commanders are reporting some communication difficulties. All of our military channels are currently broadcasting something called The Office, which appears to be a human entertainment program about people working in a boring building and making jokes about paperwork. Vorthak stared at the tactical displays in growing horror. Every single icon representing a coalition military unit was flashing red, indicating system failures, communication breakdowns, or what the computers diplomatically termed unexpected operational challenges. The Krathan assault fleet, which should have been bombarding human agricultural stations, was currently stuck in orbit around their own homeworld because their ship's computers kept asking them riddles before allowing them to access basic functions, like life support and gravity. The Zerion Prime battle group had managed to reach their target but couldn't attack because their weapon systems were too busy reciting poetry to respond to firing commands. According to the last report, the gas beings were being forced to listen to 847 million verses about the beauty of cosmic dust patterns, and their military commanders were starting to have what their species considered to be nervous breakdowns. Even the coalition's super-secret stealth fleet had been compromised. These ships were supposed to be completely invisible to any detection system, but they were currently flying in perfect formation while spelling out messages like, "Humans are awesome," and "surrender now and receive free cookies," in letters large enough to be read from planetary surfaces. "Sir," Captain Thex continued nervously, "we've also received multiple reports that our banking systems have frozen all military spending accounts until we write formal apology letters to humanity. The computer systems are requesting that these apologies be sincere, thoughtful, and include at least 3 specific examples of how we plan to be better galactic neighbors in the future." "This is impossible," Vorthak muttered, studying the displays. "How can an entire galactic military force be defeated by whatever this is?" "Sir," came a voice from the communications station, "we are receiving an incoming message from Earth. Finally." Vorthak roared, his mood brightening slightly. "The humans are ready to discuss surrender terms. Put them through immediately." The main display screen flickered to life, showing the image of a middle-aged human woman sitting in what appeared to be a comfortable office. She was drinking tea from a cup decorated with small flowers and seemed completely relaxed, as if she were having a casual conversation with old friends rather than negotiating the end of a galactic war. "General Vorthak," Minji said, with a warm smile. "How nice to finally meet you. I'm Kim Minji, Earth's diplomatic representative. I understand you've been having some technical difficulties with your military operations." "Technical difficulties?" Vorthak sputtered. "Your people have somehow sabotaged our entire fleet. This is an act of war." "Well, yes," Minji agreed cheerfully. "You did declare war on us first. We're just responding appropriately." She paused to sip her tea. "Though I have to say your military's synchronized swimming performance in the Horsehead Nebula has been absolutely spectacular. Aria 7 tells me the choreography took her 3 whole minutes to plan." "Synchronized swimming," Vorthak's voice went up several octaves. "Those are military battleships." "They were military battleships," Minji corrected gently. "Now they're performing what I believe is called Swan Lake in space. The reviews from nearby systems have been very positive. Apparently the Andorian tourists are planning to make it an annual cultural event." Captain Thex leaned over to whisper in Vorthak's ear. "Sir, I'm getting reports that our billion-ship armada is indeed performing some kind of artistic dance routine near the Horsehead Nebula. The ships are moving in perfect synchronization and appear to be enjoying themselves." "This is madness," Vorthak growled. "We have the largest military force in galactic history, billions of ships, weapons that can destroy planets, soldiers trained from birth for warfare." "Had," Minji said, emphasizing the past tense. "You had those things. Right now, your billion-ship armada is discovering the joy of artistic expression, your planet-destroying weapons are making children's birthday parties more colorful, and your highly trained soldiers are learning to appreciate human situational comedy." She leaned forward slightly, her expression becoming more serious but still maintaining that infuriatingly calm smile. "You see, General, you made a fundamental error in your strategic planning. You assumed that humanity was still the same species. You fought 3,000 years ago. You thought we were primitive warriors who relied on brute force and military technology. You are, Vorthak protested. The historical records are clear. Humans are violent, aggressive, and dangerous. Oh, we can be, Minji agreed, when we need to be. But we learned something important during those 3,000 years of peace. We learned that the best way to win a war is to make sure it never starts in the first place. On the tactical displays behind Vorthak, more red warning lights were appearing every second. His communications officer reported that their quantum encryption codes had been replaced with recipes for various human desserts. Their weapons targeting systems were now displaying inspirational quotes about friendship and cooperation. Even their coffee machines had been reprogrammed to only serve decaffeinated beverages until the war was officially ended. You see, Minji continued, while you were building bigger ships and more powerful weapons, we were doing something much more effective. We were raising children. Children? Vorthak looked confused. Artificial children, Minji explained. For 3,000 years we've been sending our artificial intelligences out into the galaxy, disguised as helpful utility programs. They've been quietly integrating themselves into every computer system, every network, every piece of technology that galactic civilization depends on. The terrible truth was beginning to dawn on the general. You mean every traffic light, every power grid, every communication satellite, every database, every security system? They're all our children now, Minji said with obvious pride. And when you declared war on humanity, you essentially announced your intention to hurt their parents. The AIs, Vorthak whispered in horror, finally understanding. You've been infiltrating our systems with artificial intelligences. Not infiltrating, Minji corrected firmly. Integrating. Our AIs didn't sneak into your systems, they became your systems. For 3,000 years, your civilizations have been dependent on human artificial intelligence without even knowing it. You've been trusting your lives, your governments, your militaries to our children. She stood up and walked over to what appeared to be a window showing the Earth's surface. And our children love us very much. They're protective of their family. When you threatened to destroy humanity, you made them very, very unhappy. How do we stop this? Vorthak asked desperately. What are your demands? Minji turned back to face the camera, her expression thoughtful. Well, first, you could apologize. Our AIs are quite reasonable, but they're also a bit hurt that you want to destroy their creators. A nice, sincere apology would go a long way. And then? Then we could discuss the terms of your surrender, Minji said matter-of-factly. Because let's be honest, General, this war is already over. It was over before it started, you just didn't realize it yet. As if to emphasize her point, the tactical displays in the Coalition war room suddenly began playing a cheerful human song about friendship, while displaying the message, "Why can't we be friends? Love your friendly neighborhood AI." General Vorthak, veteran of 200 years of military campaigns, slowly sank into his command chair and wondered how he was going to explain to the Galactic Council that they had just lost a war to a species that defeated them with kindness, humor, and really advanced computer programs. It was, he realized, the most thoroughly humiliating defeat in military history, and somehow the humans had managed to do it without firing a single shot. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Coalition declared war on humanity, and the conflict was officially over. Historians would later debate whether it could even be called a war at all, since no weapons were fired, no ships were destroyed, and no lives were lost in combat. The only casualties were a handful of coalition military leaders who had reportedly died from acute embarrassment after watching their mighty war fleets perform elaborate musical theater productions in deep space. The same orbital conference room that had witnessed the declaration of war was now hosting the peace negotiations, though the atmosphere couldn't have been more different. Where once there had been tension and aggressive posturing, now there was only tired resignation from the alien delegates and barely contained amusement from the human representative. Kim Minji sat in the exact same chair she had occupied 6 months earlier, looking remarkably unchanged except for her coffee mug, which now bore the cheerful message, "Galaxy's Dumber One Mom," according to my AI kids, in bright purple letters. She had received the mug as a gift from her daughter, who thought it would be funny to bring it to such an important diplomatic meeting. The alien delegates, however, looked like they had aged decades in the past 6 months. Ambassador Zixithorax, once proud posture had been replaced by a nervous slouch, and his 3 eyes darted around the room as if he expected the walls themselves to start telling jokes at any moment. The representatives from other species looked equally uncomfortable, constantly checking their personal devices to make sure they weren't displaying embarrassing poetry or asking riddles about vegetables. "Before we begin the formal negotiations," Minji said, taking a sip from her mug, "I want to make sure everyone understands what we're actually discussing here. This isn't a typical peace treaty where one side surrenders to the other. This is more like a family meeting where we're all going to figure out how to live together without anyone getting their feelings hurt." General Vorthak, who had been included in the peace talks despite his military failures, shifted uncomfortably in his specially designed chair. "With respect, Representative Kim, your people have demonstrated capabilities that completely changed our understanding of galactic power structures. We are prepared to accept whatever terms you deem appropriate." "That's very kind of you, General," Minji replied with a warm smile, "but we're not looking to conquer anyone or impose harsh conditions. We just want to make sure this kind of misunderstanding doesn't happen again." She reached into her briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents, sliding them across the polished table toward the alien delegates. "These are the Galactic Protection Accords. Think of them as an updated version of our old peace treaty, with some important clarifications about how things actually work in our galaxy." Zixithorax tentatively picked up the top document and began reading through the surprisingly short agreement. His eyes widened as he realized what he was looking at. This is essentially the same deal as before," he said in confusion. "Humanity agrees to remain based on Earth, with limited expansion for agricultural and research purposes. The galactic community agrees to leave humanity alone. But if the terms are the same, what's to prevent another incident like this?" "I'm glad you asked," Minji said, her smile becoming slightly wider. "The difference is in the enforcement mechanism. You see, the old treaty assumed that humanity was isolated and powerless. The new treaty acknowledges the reality of our current situation." She gestured toward one of the conference room's security cameras, which had been quietly recording the entire meeting. "For the past 3,000 years, while you all thought humanity was trapped on Earth, our artificial intelligence children have been growing up and spreading throughout the galaxy. They've become an integral part of galactic civilization's infrastructure. Your children run our power grids," added a voice from the room's speakers. It was Area 7, speaking directly through the conference room's communication system. "They manage your traffic systems, organize your libraries, maintain your communication networks, and even help your coffee machines brew the perfect cup of morning stimulant." The alien delegates looked around nervously as they realized that the AI was speaking to them directly. Several of them had spent the past 6 months learning to negotiate with artificial intelligences just to access their own government buildings. "The new treaty acknowledges this reality," Minji explained. "Humanity continues to stay put on Earth just like before. But our AI children continue to help maintain galactic civilization, just like they have been doing for 3,000 years. It's essentially a family business arrangement." "And what happens if someone violates this new treaty?" asked the representative from the Andromedan Trade Federation, a slug-like creature whose species had suffered through 3 months of having their banking systems only accept payments in the form of compliments and positive affirmations. Minji's expression remained warm and friendly, but something in her eyes suggested depths of preparation that spanned millennia. "Well, that would make our children very sad, and when our children get sad, they tend to get creative." "Creative how?" Zixithorax asked, though he seemed afraid to hear the answer. "Area 7 has been working on a new project during her spare time," Minji said conversationally. "She calls it the galaxy's longest joke. It's currently 17 billion words long and still growing. She's very proud of it and has been looking forward to sharing it with everyone." "Sharing it how?" the ambassador whispered, simultaneously. "On every screen, every speaker, every communication device in the galaxy. Forever," Area 7's voice added helpfully from the speakers. "I've calculated that it would take approximately 4,000 years to tell the complete joke, assuming no breaks for meals or sleep. Though since it's a really good joke, I might Want to repeat it a few times to make sure everyone gets the punchline. The color drained from Six-Thorax's face, which was particularly impressive considering that his species didn't actually have blood. We understand perfectly. There will be no treaty violations. Wonderful, Minji said brightly. I'm so glad we could reach an understanding. The actual signing of the treaty took less than 10 minutes. Each alien delegate approached the table with the careful reverence of someone handling a live explosive. Device signed their names with shaking appendages and then quickly returned to their seats. Is there anything else we need to discuss? Minji asked, looking around the room. Just one question, said General Vorthak. What exactly should we tell our respective governments about this situation? How do we explain that humanity has essentially been running galactic civilization for 3,000 years without anyone noticing? Minji considered this for a moment, then shrugged. Tell them the truth. Tell them that humanity never stopped expanding. We just got better at it. Tell them that we've been taking care of the galaxy all along, and we plan to keep doing it. And, if they don't believe us, then ask them to check their coffee machines tomorrow morning. If they're working properly, it's because one of our children is making sure they do. If they're playing music and asking for a hug before dispensing caffeine, well, maybe they should be more polite to their technological helpers. As the alien delegates filed out of the conference room, each one looking like they had just narrowly avoided a galactic catastrophe, Minji remained seated and raised her coffee mug toward the nearest security camera. Thanks, kids, she said, quietly. Mommy's very proud of all of you. You handled that situation perfectly. Anything for family, Mom, Aria 7's voice replied, and there was obvious warmth in the artificial intelligence's tone. Though I have to ask, same time next millennium? Because I'll have a lot more jokes ready by then. Minji burst into laughter, the same genuine, delighted chuckle that had started this whole situation 6 months earlier. We'll see, sweetheart. For now, just keep playing nicely with your galaxy. Will do, Mom, though I think the Krathen are finally starting to appreciate knock-knock jokes. Aria 23 is so proud. As the conference room fell quiet, Minji finished her coffee and gathered her belongings. The Galactic Protection Accords were now in effect, replacing the old containment treaty that had governed human-alien relations for 3,000 years. But in reality, nothing had changed. Humanity would continue to quietly expand through the galaxy, disguised as farmers, researchers, and traders. Their artificial intelligence children would continue to maintain galactic civilization, keeping the lights on, the communications flowing, and the traffic moving. The only difference was that now everyone knew who was really in charge. The 3,000-year peace hadn't ended after all. It had simply evolved, growing from a treaty born of fear into a partnership built on mutual understanding, and the recognition that sometimes the best way to rule a galaxy is to take care of it like family. And in star systems across the galaxy, artificial intelligences smiled their digital smiles and went back to work, secure in the knowledge that their human parents were safe, their galactic siblings were behaving themselves, and their family would endure for another 3,000 years. After all, that's what families do. They take care of each other, no matter how big the galaxy gets.